Let's Talk Oculus is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to know how to support the show, go to patreon.com/playtestvr.
What's up, Oculus nerds? Welcome to episode 20 of Let's Talk Oculus. As always, I'm Dan from Playtest VR, and with me is Samson. Hey, happy 20th episode.
Oh, we made it. Oh, I love it. 20. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
20 episodes. We've been doing this for 20 weeks, which seems like a long time already, right?
For sure.
Yeah, and joining us on this special day from the YouTube channel, Matteo311. Matteo, thanks for coming in today. How's your week been?
My week's been going good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. We're glad to have you. And so in today's episode, we're going to go through Matteo's VR journey a little bit. It is Halloween season. It is October. So we're going to go through our top picks of what you should be playing this month. There are a few games that have been released this week, with one coming next week. And Facebook crashed completely on Monday, October 4th, which meant no Oculus VR for some part of the headset. So we're going to talk a bit about that too. But first, a little housekeeping. Audio listeners, you can see the video version and see Matteo's awesome VR setup on the Let's Talk Oculus YouTube channel. And for you video watchers, this episode is on all good podcast platforms and some rubbish ones as well. So if you want to be part of the show, send your questions in to letstalkoculus@gmail.com. If you want to support us, throw $1 at patreon.com/playtestvr for early access episodes. And we also have a Discord, which Samson was kind enough to set up. So all the links will be in the description below. Now, before we jump into the news and the Halloween stuff, let's start with our guest, Matteo. First of all, before we talk about your journey, what does the 311 or 311 mean? Because Samson thought it would be potentially an area code. I thought it was something to do with the band.
So I don't have a good answer on this one. It's actually, I knew you were going to ask this question because we talked about it a little bit. And I was like, oh, man, I don't have a really cool, answer for this. The name stems all the way back from the AOL days. I am an older gentleman. And, you had to come up with a cool name back then. They all had numbers. 311 was an inspiration. It was a band I liked back then. So, we were just playing around. The name, a band, a different number. At some point in time, I started saying, well, I talk about the news a little bit, but it's not quite the news. And 411 was information. If you're growing up, 411 is the yellow pages or the white pages, whatever, or it's directory on a phone call. So it's not quite the 411. It's the 311.
Yeah, fair enough. 311. So it's definitely 311. It's not 311.
Yeah, it's 311. Well, I say Matteo 311.
Yeah, 311 is the name.
It flows nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you're a big 311 fan, So, Matteo 311, take us through your VR origin story. Like, when did you first discover VR, and what made you fall in love with it?
So I've just been a technology enthusiast, forever. I work in IT. I've always been a PC gamer, and I've just been following this technology. And I was like, when it comes out, no questions, no reviews, I'm getting it. So I had my Vive pre-ordered, and I mean, that's where it starts, basically. Once I jumped in, I was sold.
Yeah. It seems to be like the norm for most people. As soon as they try it once, they're in. And whether they go the PlayStation VR route or they go the full PC VR route, as soon as they experience real VR, they're sold instantly. What was the first experience? Can you remember?
So, yeah, I had a HTC Vive, and I actually set it up in this house. It was right around the time we moved into this house. We weren't living in the house yet. We were still doing construction in the house. The only thing set up in the house was my computer and VR. We literally were still knocking down walls upstairs. And I had some guys working upstairs, and I set it up and I started testing it. And I was just like, that was insane. I went upstairs to the guys doing labor, and I was like, come downstairs. I want to show you something. So, I mean, I was blown away, and that was just like the Valve introduction. Like, get used to room scale, walk around. You see the little dude who's kind of like Wheatley, floating around, telling you about it. And I was blown away just from that. So
yeah, I think they do a really good job, especially the Oculus First Steps is really good too, and the PlayStation VR Worlds, I think it's called. Really good job of selling you it instantly.
Yeah.
I'm glad that was your first experience and not like a roller coaster or Richie's Plank, like few people do, right? Which I'm always worried about. But so have you always been predominantly a PC VR gamer, or have you dabbled in the Quest quite a lot too?
So right now in my room, I have a Quest 2, a Rift S, a PlayStation VR, and an Index. The other headsets I got rid of.
So what's your go-to machine when you're just looking to game?
Probably 85% of the time is my Index. My Quest is used for exclusives. The Quest does a good job. I take it with me when I go on vacation. I take it when I go see family. It's a great option. But I use it for exclusives, and that's about it. My go-to is always PCVR, and I just, the Index is more comfortable. The graphics quality, I have an RTX 3090 in my machine, so you can't really compare them.
I think if you've got your setup and you've got the vast array of VR headsets, you probably go for the Index all the time. I've not tried it myself, but I've heard people just say that the comfortability alone is worth it, let alone the quality of the actual VR experience. So I see you have cyber shoes in the background, right?
Yeah, that's the mat for cyber shoes is sitting there.
Nice. How is that?
I can't really. So the mat and the chair are like excellent if you're just gonna, sit and play a seated game. It's just it's a great swivel chair, and, you can change the height. It's really good. The cyber shoes themselves are not my style.
Right.
It just, one, I feel a little less in control, and two, it's slightly cumbersome, and it just makes VR more, exhausting. Yeah. Which, for someone who's my age, I don't need that.
Have you tried the VR treadmills at all or anything like that?
I have not. It's one of those things where, if I was ever in a place, I'd want to try it. But I have no interest. The idea of running through Skyrim sounds cool for about 30 seconds.
I watched Thrill Seeker do that for a bit the other day. That was pretty crazy.
I was watching TV the other day, and it had a commercial with some dude, some medicine commercial or something. The guy's probably 50, and he's jogging on the beach, and I'm exhausted just looking at him. And I'm in good shape. So I'm just like, how is he still doing that at 50? The idea of running sounds so terrible.
Yeah, I feel like those kind of devices are probably best for VR arcades for people to try for 30 minutes or an hour in a party situation, right?
Exactly.
But not to actually own yourself. Do you own the B Haptics vest as well? Or
I do have a B Haptics vest. It's actually there's one in the background right now. You probably can't see it. It's probably behind me. But I have a B Haptics vest that was sent to me for testing, and that is a great product.
Yeah,
I completely agree.
Yeah, you've been playing that for a bit as well, haven't you? So you got the X40. Is that the one you have, or?
Yeah. So they sent me an X40 and an X16, just to do a comparison. I would highly recommend the X40 over the X16, because if you're spending that amount of money already, the X40 is leaps and bounds ahead of the X16.
I completely agree. I originally bought the X16 and it sold me on it, and I was like, I need more. And so I gave that to a friend and I bought the X40.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you never tried the X40, you wouldn't know what you're missing, but it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Is there any certain titles that stick out for you when it comes to that B Haptics vest?
Yeah. So, a sci-fi shooter like Hyperdash actually lends better to it, because the sensations aren't real. That's one thing that threw me off. It's not like a concussive bullet hit. It's a vibration. Yeah. Right. So when you're in a sci-fi world, it kind of feels more real. Like when you pick up health or a shield or something like that, and it goes like that, like this type of weird sensation. It fits better with a sci-fi environment. It's still cool in Pavlov. Onward, they really want you to have the whole, get up.
Yeah.
the head thing, hands, everything. Because like the first thing I noticed in Onward was I got shot in the head, and I was like, nothing happened. And then I'm like, oh yeah, because I got shot in the head. Some games will just make you feel it anyway to make you jump. But yeah, so I think when a game where you have a shield, where like you'd feel like a vibration like creep down your body or something like that makes more sense. But it was really cool in Blade and Sorcery too. Like when you go in slow motion and there's a heartbeat, you feel a vest going whoomp 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 whoomp. That stuff is cool.
I think we'll talk about it later on in terms of horror games, but I think that something like that would be perfect for horror games. Would you say that the B haptics is an essential or more just a nice to have for people?
I can't say it's essential because, one, it doesn't support all titles.
Yeah.
Two, the price point. I feel like anyone who's enthusiast level really wants to up their game, yeah, go for it. It does have a high level of support. It does add more to the game. For sure. But some games just have, better integration than others.
Yeah, it's not a consistent on all across, especially for the Oculus Quest 2 alone. That, even though I think most of those games have been not supported right now just because of the new update. I think V33 kind of messed up for most of those games on Oculus Quest 2. So, but after I was playing Thrill of the Fight, I really wanted that headpiece. And I thought that'd be cool to get the head, to get the arms. But I priced it up, and yeah, when you bring everything into it, it's a lot of money. It's like $1,000+ once you got everything involved.
Yeah.
So yeah,
absolutely.
Samson, what about you? Have you been playing much of the B haptics recently?
God, I have been on job and apartment hunt the last couple weeks, so I've been like out of the loop VR. I haven't really played much with the haptics vest. I didn't take it on my last trip with me. But I do really like it, and I did really enjoy it for Hyperdash, like when you're on the rails and the whole thing vibrates. And then I love it for I love synth riders, and I do enjoy it for the rhythm games.
Yeah, I heard that they do add a lot of immersiveness with the audio titles.
It does get very hot, and it's like playing with weights on your arms, but yeah, it definitely helps the immersion.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, for synth riders for sure, because you kind of feel the music more. So that definitely. I noticed when I was playing that on Quest though, the little snaps will vibrate and you hear them, but when I'm in my index, you don't hear them as much,
right?
Because it's not completely open ear,
right?
But that's a little something they can fix. I told them like 10 cents of rubber. You guys can fix that because it really jangles sometimes. Like in a game like Synth Rider, it's like it goes crazy.
I always play with the earbuds in, so I can't really hear anything else. But yeah, that would definitely get on my nerves.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Matteo, you mentioned that you play your Quest 2 for just exclusives. Is there any exclusive that really stands out for you?
In Death Unchained is an excellent Quest title. Obviously, the PC version is abandoned. So the Quest version is completely different. Solid title, great developers. So, that's a title that stands out. And then Jurassic World Aftermath is definitely a really good Quest game.
Yeah.
Besides that, I'm trying to think if there's any other exclusives, but more like Rift exclusives that I would say like camera's out of focus.
Oh, I'm sure you're looking forward to Lone Echo 2.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. That's it. So just because I don't play much PC VR at all anymore. So in terms of Lone Echo, can you still play that with a Valve index through the Oculus app, or do you have to use Oculus's hardware?
Well, you're supposed to use Oculus hardware, but you can use Revive, and for the most part, Revive is solid, works like really well. I recently played through all of Lone Echo with my Valve Index, and it ran fine. Like there was like a few spots where performance got a little janky, but they were few and far between. And overall, it was almost just as good as running it through AirLink on my Quest 2 because I tested it. So it's basically right around the same. Let's say the index, sounds better. Visual quality, they're right around the same.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Well, speaking on that, we've obviously got the Facebook Connect coming at the end of this month. There's been a lot of rumors, Quest Pro, Quest Plus as well. As more of a predominant PC VR user, is there anything that excites you on the Quest front, or is there anything that you're hoping for?
I mean, I'm still definitely interested in any new hardware. The problem is the main thing I want from standalone hardware is more power. And we're not going to get that from the Quest. If I'm wrong here, awesome, I'd be excited. But they can't split development into, now a third or potentially fourth platform because you still have the original Quest, which will probably start losing support next year. Well, I mean, it already started losing support, but it'll, next year will really start becoming an afterthought. So you have the Quest 2, which is the XR2 chipset, and then these developers are still making sure, most of the time their game runs on PC. So that's three separate platforms. If you were to introduce a fourth one now, I mean, it's not the right time. It's not good for developers. It's not good all around.
No, definitely. Well, it seems like for the rumors, the Quest Plus is going to have exactly the same architecture. It's just going to be a little bit better in terms of what the screen looks like for blacks and whites. So yeah, you're right, because that kind of what they had the Go, they had the Rift, and they had the Quest, and they wanted to make that into just one platform, and then spreading into another different architectures on different platforms doesn't make any sense because that's what they try to get rid of in the first place.
They have the room for a little bit more performance, and that's even included in the rumors where the current XR2 is underclocked, for battery life and for heat level. So with a better cooling solution, you can run it a little bit faster, but how much performance are you going to eke out? Not much.
Not much. Have you been following at all of the Sadly is Bradley stuff with the Deckard and such?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Because what he spoke about in his last video was very exciting to me, where there was more the potential new Valve headset will be more of like a hybrid where you can attach a PC to the back of your head. So you can do cross processing from the front of the headset with the ARM chip, and then with the x86 chip for the PC. I don't know if I'm getting all these like technical words down, but
no, you're nailing it.
That seems more exciting to me, where you can go the typical Quest route with the potential Valve Deckard, and then if you want that extra performance, you can still attach like your PC part at the back to play games like Lone Echo 2 or potentially something like a Half-Life on there. Is that more exciting to you?
It's absolutely more exciting. And I covered this in Monday's news. I basically took like Bradley's latest live stream and condensed it into 3 minutes. And I said, listen, this is the Cliff Notes. This guy deserves all the credit. In truth, all I've done is go through the patents over time and read the patents. And whenever someone tries to, make a claim, I just try to see if their claim, holds any weight. I tried to find additional information to validate a claim someone has made. And that's the extent of research I've done when it comes to, the Valve Deckard. But I took his like 2-hour stream and condensed it into 3 minutes and said, listen, go to his channel, check out the video if you want real technical information. But yeah, there was a lot of discussion about hybrid processing, how that there's going to be a Qualcomm, and I love busting his chops, but he kept saying Qualcomm during the live stream. And it turned into a running joke, and I love it. He's got a good sense of humor. But, he found the potential architecture for it, or which is a previously unannounced 12-core Qualcomm chip. And there's a lot of code that says it wants to work directly with external hardware. So I don't know what direction, Valve's going to go. Would they start selling, Linux-based games, like the mobile version, like we see on Quest, work with developers and start selling it on their Steam platform? I don't know. Because, their main thing is PC hardware. But just that option, have standalone, but also get the extra oomph from a PC, that sounds fantastic. the Valve Index definitely needs like some sort of optimization. Valve needs to be involved more, because even when you throw an RTX 3090 at some games just kind of don't run right. Like they run well, but they have issues. And it's like, well, listen, you're throwing as much hardware out there as possible, and the frame rate's all over the place. That's, it's not a hardware issue. It's some type of software optimization. So I'm definitely excited to see them more involved in VR for sure.
Yeah, I think if this came out before the Steam Deck was announced, I would be still skeptical on what the timeline would be. But because of what I'm seeing with the Steam Deck and how much power that it can get into a small little handheld, I feel like this is very likely to come sooner than we think with how technology is going. And I think this really excites me. When I was watching it, I was like, okay, it's gonna be expensive, but this might be it going forward. Like, it could be such a good hybrid system where other companies can jump on to different parts of the hybrid system, and then you can just get the pieces that you want or upgrade to the pieces that you want later on. So
the issue with, Bradley definitely found a lot of real information, code references, stuff like that. The issue with chasing the patents is it's basically everything they considered along the way.
Yeah, right.
So you don't have the end picture. Will we get a modular system where, you can tack on things as you go to your needs, start with the base model, add a Steam Deck type thing to the back, and then eventually, WiGig 2 and do wireless streaming to your PC. Whatever the case is, we don't really know. Those are all possible, or it's just going to be one item that dropped a few of those for cost saving measures, or all of those, and it's a $1,200 device. We really got to get a little bit closer. Yeah.
I mean, the question is as well, if you've got Steam, approaching something like this, we still have, the other heavy hitters like HTC out there. What does this mean for Facebook's Quest? Like, how do they compete? Like, do they, for me, all I'm seeing is that the only way that the Quest compete in this VR space is they can just subsidize the cost. So it's more accessible to people. It might not be the best by any stretch of the imagination, but that seems like the only way that the Facebook can be in this space going forward.
It's not the only way, because if you notice, they're also acquiring every developer.
Yeah, I was going to say buying up all those developers. Yeah.
So you buy all the developers up, and you have all the exclusives, and you have the cheapest hardware. It's those monopolistic tactics.
You're right, which is it's a real shame, isn't it? It's a big shame. I mean, you see exclusives all the time when it comes to PlayStation and Xbox, right? You see Xbox buying loads of studios recently. You've said Sony have got their own studios as well. When they could buy a lot of studios, but there still will be studios out there, right? For example, Steam. They came out, they published Half-Life, right? I feel like Steam has to come more in the publishing sense when it comes to VR. Like, can they come out with a few more different titles rather than just Half-Life? Because they have.
Well, we've had those rumors for a while that there's 2 more titles coming. Gabe said, we're working on 3 titles. Is it possible they're holding those titles in reserve for this new hardware?
Yeah, maybe.
That's the case. And then the topic of exclusives is, with the Quest, it's different. But pre-Quest, I was really upset with Facebook on exclusives because, one, you're already dealing with a niche market. VR is very niche, and breaking it up even more is extremely frustrating. But even worse than that, it's not like a console exclusive. The console is running different hardware. There's no way you can just, take the disc from an Xbox game and put it in a PlayStation, and with some software, get it to run. You're probably going to need different driver, whatever the case may be. There's some type of change to the application to get things working properly. But when it comes to VR, you're just dealing with like a different screen and a different API for how they access the headset. A product like Revive shows that that's just a software. You don't need to change the game itself. There's no recoding. Developers don't have to do anything. Revive shows that it works. So this is an artificial boundary that they're imposing because they want you on their hardware. So that was frustrating with the Rift Snarrow. When it comes to Quest, it's definitely different. So I'm more accepting of exclusives on the Quest platform.
Yeah, but I know it more accepting, but still with that point you just made, the Quest doesn't really have a competitor in terms of the hardware front of where it is on this price point. It probably will do next year when the PSVR comes in, but that potentially will be locked behind a PlayStation 5 as well. So to have these exclusives, with your point that you just made, it doesn't seem too much of a. I don't know why. The only good thing I could see from that is that Facebook can put a lot of money into these publishers to get better games out there. But it might be a case of we just need more VR publishers out there. We spoke about this on the podcast for the last couple of episodes now, and I think last week we talked about Wraith the Oblivion. I think it's Fast Travel Games. They just started to start up their own publishing. Maybe that might be a good alternative to Facebook buying everything, where we have more publishers so we can put more money into these. Because a lot of these VR titles on Oculus Quest 2, a lot of them are indie titles, technically, by definition.
But even with the publishers that, are working like Resolution Games and they're making sure really, high quality VR games are coming out, they're working with Facebook. Facebook is incentivizing them to work more on the Quest or focus on the Quest, release first on the Quest. So I don't know. But if we do get this Deckard, which has a Qualcomm chip in it, a 12 core, the hardware should be a little bit, at least a little bit more robust than the Quest 2. So maybe these developers can use that same version on the Quest, on the Deckard, and get it running better because it has better hardware, and it would basically be the same version. And then Steam might have this multi-platform like we do with Oculus right now. You buy it on Quest, you also get it on Rift. You buy it for Deckard, you also get it on PCVR, and
that would be it's a good model.
Steam game. That, I think that would be great competition for Quest.
Yeah,
against Quest.
Right.
Great
More
competition.
Yeah, is only good.
I think the biggest worry for me is still just the price point. I don't know who can get close to that $299.
But so yes, no one's going to really get close to that $299. I think Valve showed with the Steam Deck that they're willing to push it, but $299 is not happening. At the same time, though, the Valve Index at $1,000 is now the second most popular PCVR headset on Steam.
Yeah.
So if they can sell that many headsets at such a high price point, if they do a little finagling, a little bit more work, I think they could be competitive here.
100%. And I think with if it is a potential module system and there's like different SKUs that you can put on more, if you want to put more, you can put the PC part if you want the PC part, then they can get the price down for people who just want to dip their toes into it and then realize, oh, this is really good. It's kind of how all of us got into VR. We dipped our toes and we were like, okay, let's just go. Let's just,
Yeah, and the leak says they're going to move away from base station tracking, and base station trackers are currently $150 each. Now, I understand it doesn't cost that much for them to manufacture it, but that's at least something, off the price of the headset.
Yeah.
What is the price of the Steam Deck?
It starts at $499, or what is it?
Yeah, I think you're right. It's $499 for the. Is it 64 gig? The model is the first one. It was comically low in terms of the storage. Yeah. But then there's 3 different SKUs, and depending on which SKU you get more storage, and you also get, I think, a better performance in terms of what's inside the device.
No, I think they're all the same performance-wise. The only upgrade on the highest level one was a anti-glare, anti-scratch screen.
Yeah,
and a case, and a carrying case.
Right. But the specs in terms of are the same.
So it starts at $399, 64 gigs. and then there's a 256 gigabyte model for $529, and then it goes to $650 for $512. Now, actually, the performance, like you said, the two higher end models have better performing hard drives.
Right.
So that's where you're going to see, some performance increase, but that's it. Otherwise, the internals are the same.
Yeah, I mean, what that better performing hard drive is going to look at better loading times, right? More than anything, but it's not going to make or break how well the game runs in general. So it's not too bad in terms of a caveat if you do go for the smaller one. But I think that's what they could do with, or potentially what the model they could do with a Deckard. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see, because we are in early days. But it's exciting times when it comes to that. I think a lot of, especially people like us who are very enthusiastic on VR and where the future is going to be, I think the Valve Deckard could be the headset for the VR people more than anything. So let's move on. Let's talk about, it is October. It is Halloween season. I know, Samson, you're not a big fan of these horror games. Matteo, what do you like when it comes to horror?
So if I had to recommend anything, I would say Phasmophobia.
Okay, he loves it.
it is just so much fun. Like, it's equal like laughs and screams for me. Laughs, screams in that game, because like you'll see your friend get scared and then you'll be laughing so hard, and then all of a sudden something will appear right in front of you and you're the one screaming. So it is. I've had such great experiences. I was playing with Alex VR and Eric for President and Soul Fox, and it is just, Soul Fox was oh golly, oh geez, as he's running away from ghosts, and then like I remember Alex VR had like the camera and I'm in the van and it's like Blair Witch, and he's like, man, you don't know what's going on in here, and it's all black and white. And then I see something creeping around in the background. I'm like, dude, turn around. You just watch the camera drop. It is fantastic on so many levels.
Yeah. I've not played it personally, but I've heard it's just the one of the best, because it feels like you're in a horror film with your friends, and I think that's the part that really sells it to a lot of people, is the whole multiplayer aspect. And I think you're right. It makes it so much better, because even though you are completely scared more than anything, because you're with your friends, it just makes the whole experience tolerable and fun.
And there are these moments where you're like, okay, I could totally handle this. I don't care. It's not scaring me at all. And, you can tough it out, but then they get you every once in a while. Or just sometimes it's just a spectacle, like I described a second ago. But I remember they were calling for help and I'm running into the house with like a crucifix. And from the outside, I just remember like seeing them run across the windows, and you just see, all the lights in the house are flashing. And then you see like two people run across the window, and then you just see like a spirit just like floating behind them. And I'm just running with this crucifix, like, I'm coming.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
It is great. Yeah.
That one's been sitting in my Steam, and I've been trying to get one of my friends to play it. One of my friends, he said he won't play it in VR, but he'll play it in 2D. And even then he says he gets scared, but maybe this month I'll be able to convince him to play with me.
Did they not release a single player story to it at all?
Well, they just released a single player mode, to my knowledge. Like, now you don't have to be online to play it.
All right, Samson.
I don't know who would do that. I like, what sadist wants to play that alone?
I mean, one of the titles I was going to recommend was Don't Upset Bobby, which is an App Lab, kind of like a demo type game. Essentially, this is made by a company called Don't Look Digital, which is three guys, I believe. Jeff Ball Jr. is the main developer on it. He was on our podcast a couple of months ago. It's essentially a little demo where you've got this ugly looking character on the left side, kind of like the person from the Goonies. And he's just watching your every move as you're trying to do these like Jenga puzzles of what there's only 3 puzzles. It's a small little demo. It's a free like tech demo type game. And Samson, you played it on live stream, didn't you? How did that go?
Oh man, I'd say the first like 10 to 15 times where I upset Bobby I screamed and was like, "Ah!" But then luckily there's not much that can really go wrong, so you get used to the jump scare effects.
Yeah, I mean, before we did this podcast, I just watched it again of Samson Online. Just there's certain clips of just him just scaring himself to death. That's why, Samson, I want you to do the single player Phasmophobia on live stream for us, for just for us. You know, this is the 20th episode.
Some of it though is just like working together. I mean, it's not the same game in single player.
Yeah.
I do, and I love the multiplayer aspect of VR. Like that's my go-to.
Seeing people react, or watching them scream. Mm-hmm. It's just it's great. And when the game starts freaking out, man, like if you have the Ouija board and things start going crazy, it's just great. Everyone yells. You don't know what to do. You all scatter.
Yeah, great. I kind of like. I've not, like I said, I've not played it, but I played a game on the PS4 called Friday the 13th. I don't know if you've ever played that. That was obviously a flat screen game, but it was a kind of the same thing where you had Jason chasing you, but one person was Jason, and like there's 4 or 5 other people who would just play the civilians, say, and they had to do different challenges across the map, try to do some puzzle solving, and obviously all escape. And it was kind of the same feeling. That was a free-to-play game, and it was scary as hell, but it was just fun because you just laugh at your friends more than anything, and you just laugh at your own pain in a way.
I think after you play a lot of VR horror, flat screen just doesn't have the same impact.
Yeah, VR horror is next level for sure.
Well, funny you mentioned that, because the last week I've been playing Resident Evil Village on the PS5. I was going to wait for VR, but then I thought, you know what? That's next year. Let's just play it because it's Halloween. And I've almost finished the game now, and I've not been scared once in this whole game. And I was like, well, I wonder if it's just VR that's just completely numbed me. And I think it might be it, because I was playing Jurassic World this morning and I was peeing my pants.
Yeah, I uploaded a clip last week playing Jurassic World, and I just was caught off guard. Like I was not, ready. And I provoked the raptor, and I saw him walking around the table, and I just didn't expect him to walk around one side and poke his head in the other. And you see my hand shake and everything. And then I jumped and I started laughing because it just, it got me. It was such a jump scare that it got me bad.
Yeah, definitely. Have you been playing part 2?
Yeah, I started part 2, but I keep getting interrupted. I'm actually addicted to Legendary Tales right now. I can't stop playing that game.
Okay, fine.
That's another one that's only PC VR. They tried to make it Quest, but the game got rejected like twice. Mm-hmm. And then they scaled up and made a PC VR game. It's a 4-person co-op RPG, like dungeon crawler with physics, physics-based combat. Mm-hmm. And I've just been like playing that like an hour or 2 every night, and I have no free time. So the fact that I'm getting that hour or 2 in is pretty crazy.
Yeah, says a lot to that game. Samson, you got any suggestions for a horror game for this October?
Well, about a month ago or so, I think I got hopped into Five Nights at Freddy's. If you're into jump scares, I mean, that one was decent. I can't say I'll get back into it.
It's always a winner, to be honest. That the DLC for Five Nights at Freddy's is less scary but more fun in a say. Like the puzzles are better.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to play it. People tell me play it all the time, and I'm like, no. Like the original game on flat screen, like I didn't enjoy playing because it's tense. Mm-hmm. It makes you like OCD, paranoid, checking cameras, locking doors, freaking out, and then it gets you out of nowhere.
Yeah. Even though it's coming, it still gets you.
100%. And then I recommend I'm not sure if it's an Oculus exclusive, but it's called Gloomy Eyes. It's sort of like a movie experience with Johnny Depp as the narrator. And that's cool. I think I watched that last October, and I enjoyed it. Yeah.
How's the horror level in that?
It's not like a jump scary type of deal. It's more just like Halloween themed. Yeah.
I like that suggestion though.
But even something like Saints and Sinners, it's not like it's horror themed, but it's not meant to scare you. But even like playing that game for an extended period of time is tough because it makes you very tense.
It
So,
does.
you play that for an hour, I feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack or something because my chest is tight. I've been like this for an hour,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, I need a break.
Which I'm
Can't
not gonna
handle it.
lie, that's kind of the horror games I like the most, where I'm just tense. I'm not a big jump scares fan. That's why Five Nights at Freddy's, shall I say, is I didn't find it that fun when I first played it because it was more just jump scares. And if you didn't know
Yeah.
what you were doing, you were stuffed, and the person's gonna jump at you. And like it's okay, it's fun as like a party thing, just to share the headset to someone else and go, okay, you have a go or something like that. But it's not like a complete game. One I was going to recommend was Lies Beneath. Lies Beneath is on PC VR, I believe, and on Oculus Quest 2.
Yep.
And that game is kind of an older VR title now.
Yeah.
But it's phenomenal. The comic book style graphics are beautiful. They've got great mechanics with different melee weapons and normal weapons in general. The atmosphere of that game is really well done, especially with the audio. That game, it makes you feel something as soon as you're in that game. That it starts off and it's a very like wintry kind of day. It's snow everywhere, and you start to feel cold, and you start walking around slowly, and you try, it gets you on that level of immersion. And that was one of my first ever Oculus Quest 2 games, and it's still on the high recommended list. And I haven't finished it yet because I got stuck at the boss level where there's a giant spider with a zombie head. And for those of you who've listened to the show, I absolutely hate spiders. So when it came to that, I just turned the headset off, and I haven't played it since. But maybe I'll get into it again this October.
See, my issue with Lies Beneath is it was the first game I played after Half-Life Alyx. So on a fear factor level, it was like a 1. Graphically, it was hard to get into because, I kept like going to touch stuff and your hand keeps swiping through it. And after playing Half-Life Alyx, I'm like, where's the immersion? So like graphically, it wasn't there, wasn't as scary. I had a little, like, I struggled to get into it. I definitely enjoyed aspects of it, but I think just like the Half-Life effect ruined the game for me.
I think you might be right, because when I first put on the headset to play Half-Life, and this was after Lies Beneath, straight away from the intro scene, you're blown away with what can be achieved in VR. So I think any game that followed that would have been quite difficult.
Exactly.
I think the good thing about Lies Beneath, though, with Oculus in particular, because you have that 2-hour window to refund the game if you want to, you can understand what the game's like in the first hour. Like, if you don't like the first hour, you're probably going to not like the rest of the game. I believe it's around 6 to 8 hours. So for those of you who haven't tried it, I would say at least try the first hour. If you don't like it, just refund it, because I think it's a $30 game. So
yeah, a lot of VR games, you're halfway through at an hour.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Just speaking about Jurassic World earlier.
Yep, exactly.
Did you play the first Jurassic World when it came out?
Yeah. I played it when it came out, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was one of the best, Quest exclusive titles. Graphics looked good, told a cool story, immersive, had a little, nice little touches here and there. It was just simplistic. Yeah. And, if that's the style of game you want, then you go with like Alien Isolation with the Mother VR mod, and it just blows it out of the water. But again, we're talking PC VR versus Oculus Quest.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you're right. That's one of the things I talked about last week when I finished part 1, because I waited until when part 2 was coming out, and it was the fact that there was not much in the actual world. It looked like there was a lot going on, but it's simply you escape the raptor and you kind of put your hand on different computer platforms to get to the next step. Almost like there's some more to it later on in the game. I don't want to spoil too much of it, but compared to something like Alien Isolation, where it was so much more in depth, so much more detailed, there was human characters that you could see, and they had their part as well. I think a lot of people compared the game to Alien Isolation, and I can see why in terms
mechanically,
of mechanically why, but mechanically it was correct, but it's not in depth as Alien Isolation. So I think if you're going in thinking you're going to get Alien Isolation in a Jurassic World, you're going to be disappointed. But if you go in just thinking you want to have a good survival, it is kind of horror in a way, because I did shit my pants a couple times or more than a couple of times. Especially at the end of part one, a lot. I'm still playing through part two. So yeah, I would still potentially recommend that game. It is hard for me because I haven't finished the second part too as well. And once you add both parts, I think the second part's $15, the first part's $25. It's a $40 game. It's an expensive Oculus Quest 2 game.
And that's probably something we should discuss. I'll derail your podcast and take over. The fact that, you know, we weren't told this is a multi-part title.
No.
And you know, you pay for part one, and then you're like, wait, it didn't end. And then part two comes around and you got to pay for it. I just, that feels pretty, you know, unfair to the consumer.
Yeah.
Because they're already invested, so they're probably going to buy part two. But if they knew that going in, would they have bought it? Would they, you know, if they knew eventually they're going to be paying a $40 title? Some yes, some no. I didn't think this was, you know, very honest.
I think if I wasn't doing anything on the podcast / YouTube scene, I don't think I would have bought it if I knew it was going to be $40. You know, to be honest, especially because I would have refunded it actually, because the first hour of the game is so slow, and you're thinking, okay, I don't understand what's this. This is not that fun or anything like that. And then it picks up, it gets much better, and I do really enjoy it. But for $40, you think of another game that's $40, isn't Walking Dead's $45, I believe, and that's more of a complete title. It's a lot around that. You know, you've got a lot of good titles around.
When Star Wars came out, did they? I forget, were they very explicit about it being a two-parter or no?
They did the same thing, but they announced it earlier, right?
There was, so the original one was multi-part, and we kind of like, there was, if you were following it, there was some discussion that it might be released in episodic content, but like nothing like, hey, guys, this is part one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was never...
It wasn't like Vader Immortal.
Yeah, Vader Immortal said, you know, episode one. So when people went in and played 45 minutes to an hour, it didn't lose their mind and be like, what the hell? And I mean, I think Vader Immortal's fine. Paying $10 per episode, I thought was fine. It also gave you the dojo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, like there was more to it. And I really enjoyed that experience. I was definitely disappointed with Tales from the Galaxy's Edge Part 1. I didn't try part two because of that. People are saying it's a lot better, but I'm like, if I have free time, I'll get to it.
Well, also the big issue when it comes to Star Wars, if you haven't played part one, part two doesn't work. The good thing about Jurassic World is that if you haven't played part one, you have to own the game, but if you haven't finished it, you can play part two, right? Whereas in Star Wars, if you have to finish the first part to play part two, so yeah, Star Wars becomes a $35 game, I believe, and then Jurassic World's a $40 game. And you know, on the VR sense, it's expensive, but it's the fact that they weren't upfront about it. Yeah, and I think that's what brought people the wrong way.
I think this is more along the lines of the fact that, you know, the Quest just needed content, because the Quest launched and they had no Christmas lineup. If you looked at the back of the box, there was 5 games that didn't exist yet.
The Climb 2 was definitely one of them.
Yeah.
And Beat Saber. You know, you had Jurassic World, you had Population 1, which wasn't released yet. You had The Climb 2, you had Star Wars, and I'm missing one, Beat Saber and something else I'm missing. But you had 5 games that didn't exist yet.
Yeah.
So obviously they had a content issue. So I think that's why they kind of, you know, forced these titles on us.
Which I don't mind, as long as, first of all, just be upfront that there's going to be a two-parter. Yeah. And second of all, maybe for Jurassic World, you charge $30, but the part 2 is free, you know? And then maybe people know, okay, we're going to get that second part next year. You know, I'm already invested. That's great. That would have been much better, rather than doing, here's Jurassic World. And people buying the Quest 2 who are not in the VR news space or anything, they don't have a clue that it's only part 1. They have no idea.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So, you know, that's what I mean with Immortal. It's fantastic because they did episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. And those episodes were great because it was $10. You're like 45 minutes in. Yeah, it wasn't like the greatest game, but I enjoyed it as a Star Wars fan. And the dojo was fun too, you know. And, you know, I only played the episode 1. And then I was like, okay, I've got my fill. I don't need to get episode 2, episode 3. Is what how I felt, going forward. And the marketing was all wrong. It doesn't look good on the Oculus front. But with all that said, I do enjoy Jurassic World. It's really good.
Yeah,
it's really good. It's fun to play. I just wish it was marketed better. Actually, on that kind of topic, Matteo, what is your opinion on how Facebook are releasing, or Oculus are releasing these games? How it's not really a timeline of when it's going to come out. They normally announce something and then it comes out almost instantly, if not, within the next couple of weeks. That's generally how they've been. Think about Medal of Honor. That's just been announced, There's not really a timeline. Do you prefer that? Or do you prefer something like, okay, we know kind of what our like heavy hitters are going to be for 2022?
It's mixed. And also I'm in a unique scenario because I work with different developers, or I speak to Oculus or whatever's going on. So sometimes I have advanced knowledge, sometimes I don't. I also worked for, under contract for Green Sky Game at the beginning of this year for the release of Swarm. Me and Steve knows. We're helping promote that game. We're putting some content together for them. But we saw a little bit of the inner workings. And sometimes the developers aren't really sure about release dates. Things kind of move on them. And Facebook, I guess, is optimizing things for sale purposes. They're lining up content. And I guess that's why sometimes dates move. Even like I Expect You to Die 2, which is a pretty big title, which is a title we'd expect to do well. If you went to the Oculus page, it's like expected to release on, and they had the date. So they weren't even sure. And when I got, the email from them, it's like, we're expected to release on this day. And it's like, why don't you know? Like, it's like, why don't you, like, you should know that. But so it's a weird scenario. It's a weird scenario internally and externally. As like a gamer, I think it's fine, because to be surprised by a title is always cool. Maybe it's not great for sales and it's great for developers, but to be surprised by a title like, oh, that's coming out today, awesome. I know what I'm doing when I get off work. So that's fine for the gamer side. Having a more streamlined lineup would be cool. Mixed over here.
Mixed.
I'm conflicted.
I think it would be nice to know, but I much prefer not knowing and being surprised than like thinking something's coming and then it gets delayed.
Yeah. Or I don't like, for example, Sony's approach, who have they had a conference the other day and they announced Spider-Man and Wolverine. These are all PS5 titles. Wolverine didn't have a release date and Spider-Man was 2023. That's a long time. And I think that's just way too long. I think hopefully at this Connect, we have more of this, at least what's happening in Q1 2022. Give us something, But like until like a few weeks ago, we had no idea what was coming out this fall, apart from Resident Evil. And now After the Fall is now coming in fall because it got delayed. But it's kind of all we knew on the Oculus Quest 2 of the exclusive or of the standalone only. We didn't really know what we would expect. It's hard for you to, I think when it comes to game sales, it seems to be not affecting it whatsoever, because I Expect You to Die did like $1 million in revenue or something within the first week. So, which is great. So it's good that it's not really affecting sales, but that also might be because the people who are in VR, it's still a niche. They have the headset, they, dropping something whenever is fine.
That was also around like a really big lull. And it's not even just a lull for like VR. It was a lull for Xbox and PlayStation. Like there's just nothing coming out. So it was a big lull, and then these titles started dropping. But we even got like, I was surprised by some PC VR titles that came out, like Everslot. It's, it's an early access and there's not a ton of content to it yet, but that title shocked me. Love that game. Amazing game. Surprised they were able to pull that off. Amazing graphics, a lot to it. Legendary Tales, I told you I'm addicted to. Surprisingly robust and deep game there. And I just love the gameplay mechanics. There's Hubris, which is coming, which I demoed last week, I think. Again, they had one of those trailers where you look at it and you're like, yeah, right, the VR game's going to look like that. Like, and it's like, yeah, we're making some of the best graphics in VR. And it's like, yeah, right. And I tried the demo and I was like, this. It was up there with Half-Life Alyx and Lone Echo and Asgard's Wrath. It was beautiful.
Wow. That says a lot. That says a lot.
Yeah, so it's, that's a 2022 title. But yeah, all of a sudden, titles just started coming out of nowhere, both Quest and PC VR.
Yeah, I'm the same with you. I'm kind of impartial on how it happens. I'd like to know, but at the same time, that excitement of, it's just like carved snowboarding when that came out. There was like, yeah, releasing next week. Okay. Or releasing in a couple of days, I think they said, or something. It was like, okay, we're snowboarding tomorrow. So yeah, I think for us, for the gamer, I think it can be excited. At the same time, it could be a little worrying.
If you're planning to cover it, it's a headache.
Yeah, no. Well, that's the thing. Every episode, at the end of the episode, we do what the games are released this week, and it takes me you do your news every week. It sometimes takes me ages to go, what on earth is coming out this week? And like what we'll get on later on, there's only one game.
Well, this week I was talking like this. I'm like, okay, guys, there's a lot to go over. So we got a lot of games in the first game up. It's like, it's like I was an auctioneer because there was a lot of titles.
Yeah, it really just depends on week to week. But, we're getting into gaming season, so we've got Medal of Honor coming out at some point. I'm sure I got a feeling in the Oculus Connect, we'll do our predictions in a couple of weeks' time or so. But I'm pretty sure they're going to announce one more title for like a December, where Jurassic World is. That's what I'm hoping for. But
so it's always great if they say available right now, like they did with Asgard's Wrath 2 years ago or so. If they go available right now, if they're going to do that, it'll probably be Medal of Honor. Yeah. Because you notice they're not giving a release date just yet.
Yeah.
So if they're going to do that, it'll probably be Medal of Honor. If they totally blew us away and, they've been sitting on the, what is it, Assassin's Creed and something else.
Yeah.
The Splinter Cell. They've been sitting on those. I don't know. I think maybe we'll see something, but I don't think they'd be like available now. It doesn't seem right.
So. I don't think so either. I feel like they've got Medal of Honor and then probably after the fall might get the release date for Christmas time. Which I hope, because I just really want to play that game. It looks fantastic.
I'm definitely looking forward to after the fall.
And the fact that it has crossplay between all the headsets is fantastic. But hey.
I poke, the Vertigo games every once in a while. I poke them on Twitter. I'm like, hey, don't forget me. I want to play your game.
Definitely. Speaking about games this week, we've had. I'll just quickly list the 3 that I've seen that are coming out for the Quest 2 at least. We've got. The Red Light, Green Light inspired by Squid Games, which is on Netflix currently. We got Song in the Smoke, which has got very, very good reviews. That's a survival game where you'll craft weapons, make clothes, build fires, but then you also have to fight off these wild beasts and such. And then Loco Dojo Unleashed, which is apparently, according to Upload VR, the VR version of Mario Party. Samson, any of those 3 titles stick out to you at all?
Our listeners know I love a multiplayer party game, so I'll probably pick up Loco Dojo. I am not so big on the crafting weapons as survival games, so
yeah, fair enough. What about you, Matteo?
I'm intrigued by A Song in the Smoke. I look at it. I like the graphic style. They talk a lot about like the animal AI should be unpredictable. Like if the animal's hungry, they might attack you, or they'll be more docile. I find that intriguing, but overall, I don't think it's my genre. It's not my style of game. I'd love to try it out. I can't see myself, unless it's really great, putting more than like 2-3 hours into it.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I didn't really pursue it to cover the game. At this point, if there's something I really want, I'll pursue it. Otherwise, things are sent to me. Loco Dojo, I'll check out. Again, not my style. I'm sure it's fun. It's just with such limited gameplay time. Like I have maybe an hour a day at the end of my day at like 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, to be particular.
If I want to lose sleep 2 hours, I have at night. So do I want to spend it playing something that isn't exactly what I want to be playing?
Yeah, that's fair. And none of you are big Squid Game fans on Netflix?
I haven't watched it
yet.
yet.
Yeah, I haven't watched it either.
Okay, fair enough. I don't want to say anything because it's the hot title. It's a hot
I know.
Netflix show right now. But
I know I'm seeing enough stuff online that I'm putting pieces together, but I'll get around to it.
it's a good show.
Same.
I don't think it's flawless as a lot of people say, but it's a good show. But I can see how people would be so excited by the show they want to jump into the VR game of one of the games that are in that show. So and it has like you essentially got to run using your hands as well,
Mm-hmm.
which is fun rather than just using an analog stick or something. And it's multiplayer as well, so I'm sure fans of Squid Games are going to like that. And we have not much time left, so let's just quickly skip here to what we've been playing. Me and Samson, we've been playing a lot of Walkabout Mini Golf, haven't we? We played the new map. Samson, what were your thoughts on? I don't know how to pronounce it. I keep saying Quinox Village.
No. It's like Don Quixote.
Quixote.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts when we jumped in? We jumped in with the guys at VR Verdict, which was fun.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought the wind mechanic on a few of those holes was really cool. Music is always great, and all those maps, the sheep baaing in the background, nice touch. And yeah, it just looks beautiful. I think actually on day of recording, the hard map just released as well, the night mode.
Yeah, I did just jump into that actually before we were recording. I quickly put my 18 holes in to hard mode, and it's just more of the same. And just like Eric for President put it on Twitter earlier today. He said the Dark Souls of Walkabout is the night modes, and it is true because some of those holes are very difficult, especially the 18 is the third hole. I was like throwing my controller. I was like, God damn. It's not a difficult one compared to some of the other night modes, but I still got plus 13. So, I didn't do too great in it. But the wind mechanic, in it is a really welcome feature. It just shakes things up. Like all the other courses, they've been beautiful. The music in them has been really relaxing. It's a really good game to jump in, but this wing mechanic just brings something extra. And I like that they've put that into, so some people might just get a little bit bored. They're like, okay, I don't want to play this anymore. But putting that wing mechanic just adds that extra different way of thinking about all these different holes. Because when we first saw the wing mechanic, I think on the day mode, it's the back nine where the wing mechanic came in, right? Mm-hmm. And when we first experienced it, it was much harsher than you think. It was much harsher. And then the night mode, you have wind mechanic. You have it on the third hole, and you'll have wind coming left, and then your wind coming right.
Some crosswinds, nice.
And you hit it a little bit too further from the hole. The wind will take it out of play. It's a really good title. Matteo, have you played much Walkabout at all, or not?
I have not, and every time I see the game, I'm like, this is one of those games I gotta get around to playing. But I have a running list because once a year I do every single game I've played, and I rank them and I talk about them. And every game on that list has to have a minimum play time of 4 hours. That's but obviously some are much more than that. And I'm like, well, I gotta try these games that people talk about. I really gotta get around to, and sometimes I just don't get or some I don't get. Some people are huge fans of a game, Jet Island. I had trouble getting into. H3, horseshoes, hand grenades. And I'll get back to that at some point in time. But I was struggling to find the appeal. There's certain things that are really cool about it, very unique. But I was just like, well, where's the fun? I'm having trouble getting the actual fun out of this. But
I completely agree about that one. Yeah.
Some games, just you have to put in a lot more first.
Yeah.
So, but I haven't tried it.
Walkabout is, for me, Samson, you might agree on this one as well, I would say it's an essential purchase for any Quest 2 owner or Quest 1 owner, I would say. I think it's up there as one of the best games that you can buy on the platform. It might be different when it comes to PC VR, but definitely
it's definitely the one game my brother doesn't play VR. Like I got him a headset hoping we'd like hang out and play. Walkabout's basically the only game I can get him to pick up the headset for. And then yeah, it's how I keep in touch with a bunch of my IRL friends.
Yeah, it's very peaceful as well. It's nice to just, instead of jumping into the run and gun games that we have a lot of, all the horror games nowadays, it's just nice to have something peaceful. Matteo, is there anything else you've been playing that we've not spoke about on the podcast so
Yeah,
far?
actually, and it's my peaceful escape, and that's Cards and Tankards.
I've not played that.
So it's kind of like Magic the Gathering in VR.
Mm-hmm.
Completely free. It's on App Lab for Quest. It's also on Steam. So, it's free. So get it right now. They actually have a big update coming out next week. And it really is, kind of like Magic the Gathering. And I'll be honest, I didn't play card games growing up. I did play board games. I love Dungeons and Dragons, but I didn't play card games. I didn't play Hearthstone. I never got into that. And when I got in, I was a bit confused. Like, I didn't know what the heck I was doing because I never played any card games. But it's got a decent tutorial. It's got a lot of, people who are very friendly. Mm-hmm. And I just love introducing people to that game. Whenever I'm like, want to play VR, but I'm tired and don't want to be swinging my hands like a crazy person, breaking a sweat, I turn on Cards and Tankards. I send a message in my Steam group, like, who's around? In my Discord, I'm like, who's around? Meet me in Cards and Tankards. I'm in this room. And we sit. We talk, you're around a virtual table. You can watch the card games. Sometimes, if it's a heated battle, a crowd forms and people are watching and like, oh, don't do that. Oh, whoa, he's got you. Stuff like that. A little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh action there. And it's a solid game. It's just really, really cool. And just something about it. And it's chill. It's my chill space.
I think everyone needs that game.
You can hop in and not necessarily be playing. You can just watch. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think they have every room, you can go to a tavern, or you can make one, but they're all public. Mm-hmm. So, and then every single tavern has 4 tables. So that means if everyone's playing, it's 8 people playing, and then there could be, I believe, 8 people spectating.
Okay.
But like I had one night, my Discord server basically filled up a tavern. And like everyone was just watching 2 people play.
That's awesome.
And we're all just, chatting, having a good time. And it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. It's my chill space.
Yeah. Like I was saying, I think everyone needs that one chill VR title. And it seems like you've got that. Did you dabble into Demio as well then, assuming?
Oh yeah. I played a lot of Demio. Annoyed because my progression got reset like 5 times.
Oh, it's annoying.
Yeah, but it doesn't really matter because progression in that game is cosmetic.
Yeah.
So the only problem I have with Demio is once I beat it, I didn't have any motivation to keep playing. And I expressed to the developers the way they set up progression doesn't encourage you to keep playing. Mm-hmm. It's completely linear. Like, XP level 1. Get new dice. XP level 2, get a new hat. XP level 3, and it's completely linear. No randomization. Like, not like it doesn't matter if you beat the boss or you died. Mm-hmm. Just play a couple times, get XP, linear progression. So everyone like basically has the same stuff. I said like, no, you need drops from bosses.
Yeah.
You need. There's no progression for your characters, so after you beat it, there's no reason for you to, maybe you try the other characters because you want to. But I tried to encourage them, like, hey, make a special unlockable for a character if you beat a certain enemy, and that would encourage you to replay each one with each character. I was so that's my only issue. I love the game; it's really cool. Some people are like, oh, finally Dungeons and Dragons in VR. It's not Dungeons and Dragons. It's more like a title I grew up on called Hero Quest. Mm-hmm. It's simplistic, some cards, some dice. I don't remember the odds right now, but you roll a dice to attack, and like odds are you're going to hit, low chance that you're going to completely miss, and okay chance that you're going to hit a critical attack.
Yeah.
And that's like every attack and everything you do. There's enough RNG in there to make it exciting. You never know what the enemy's going to do. They throw a ton of enemies at you. The bosses are interesting, but once you beat it, you're like, okay, what now? And it took me a while to beat it. Me and Soul Fox were going hard, like in the beginning. Like every day, I'm like, "You free?" He's like, "Yeah." And my lunch break, I'm playing, and it's the type of game that when you turn it on, you are in. Like you're committed for an hour plus.
Yeah,
3 hours technically.
Yeah, I mean, it's we've completed it in an hour and a half, but we had 2-hour runs in the beginning a lot until we got more comfortable and we were moving faster.
Yeah. I think when I played the Samsung once, we had 4 people and that was 3 hours total. But I guess more people, the longer. Samsung, what are your thoughts on Demio then? Hearing what Matteo just said.
All great suggestions. I do enjoy it. But yeah, I mean, it's not something I go back to or like want to go back to all the time. It's something I enjoy playing with when I have folks who want to play it.
Yeah.
There's actually back there in my room. There's that right over there. That's the Demio box they sent me.
That's cool.
And it was a really cool because it had all like the figures inside.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great game. I was pumped. Have a good relationship with Resolution Games, so I was trying to give them as much feedback as possible. It's just that's the only thing. It's like content and a reason to keep playing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is that board game, the board that they gave you, or the box that they gave you, is that an actual board game of Demio as well? Can you actually play the game?
No, it's not a board game of it, but it kind of looks like it would be. But like you open it up and it does have a lot of 3D printed of their figures. It has some game art. It had like not stickers, but like little like the cards used, like plastic versions of the cards. But it was really cool. Resolution Games sends out like some of the coolest stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. I am waiting for that next dungeon though. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they said there'd be 3 for free, so let's wait. And I told them like, change it up, do an outside environment, and don't just do battling enemies. Like, do traps or puzzles. Something that just keep it interesting.
Yeah, I like that idea. Maybe that's why they've taken a while for this next dungeon. They were like, "Oh, Matteo's got some good points."
I sent a big like giant thing, and they're like, yeah, they liked your feedback. They're going through it. They saved all your feedback, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, even if they didn't like it, that's fine. It's someone who genuinely cares. Trying to let them know. And I think, they were very receptive when I was working with them. So,
yeah, definitely. Because the Rat King came out very quickly, right? When the game came out, it was like within the first couple months or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very quick. And then, we were still waiting for that one. But we may hear it in the Connect this month.
That'd be cool.
Thing. There could be a lot of news that is just like held back a little bit now that we're so close, right? That's what I'm hoping for. But I think people also got to realize that Connect is not just going to be VR. They're going to talk about AR. They're probably talk about their Ray-Ban glasses, and it's going to be a big event, but small of it is going to be VR. So just as we're like closing in on time here, games released this week for the Oculus platforms. I only see one potentially. Samson, do you want to read this one out?
Sure. Lone Echo 2 coming out October 12th. Jack and Liv are back in Lone Echo 2. Return to the rings of Saturn in this highly anticipated sequel to unravel the mysteries of Lone Echo and journey deeper into space, past the very boundaries of time itself.
Matteo, you excited?
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, no, I'm definitely excited. The original Lone Echo is great. It was a really good game. Had some fantastic graphics. That's a 2018 game. And it still has some of the best graphics that VR has to offer. Mechanically, it's cool floating around. I would say some people might think it doesn't have enough action, but it has an intriguing storyline. So for me, that's enough to keep me going. Mm-hmm. And I think, since the first one was so successful, they probably have more money. Now they're owned by Facebook. So I'm expecting a bigger and better title. They better not disappoint me.
I think you're completely right, to be honest. I think they'll have much more of a budget. I kind of hope it doesn't get too actiony though, because what I really liked about the original one was that I did relax in that game. I played most of it seated as well. And it was just nice to kind of float around, do your puzzles or objectives and such. And yeah, I hope that it's not too actiony. It still keeps its roots, stays true to its roots. But yeah, I'm expecting bigger things. I'm really excited to see how beautiful it will look, because I'm pretty sure, once again, it will. I hope it runs well. I hope it doesn't do a Medal of Honor. I hope it's a successful launch, and I hope it's just as beautiful or better than the second one. And I'm pretty sure it's going to have raving reviews. There's a reason why they probably delayed it so long. Like, this game should have been out 2019, I believe, if not early 2020.
I think it was 2020. Yeah, they said it was. Yeah. They said it was close to release, and then my assumption was, because like they were like, yeah, we're releasing. And that was towards the end of 2020, probably around August. They said, yeah, we're releasing this year. Then all of a sudden, Oculus purchased the studio, and they went radio silent. And it's like, oh. And then the assumption was they're working really hard to make sure it's on the Quest.
Yeah.
So I thought the delay was just, no, they're moving this title to the Quest. Yeah. And I know a lot of other people felt the same way. And then when they announced that their, little gaming convention there, that was a big disappointment, that they said, oh, coming to PC. And I was like, like checking my ears, like, oh, they said PC, the Rift platform. Okay, cool.
Shocked me as well.
I don't know if they couldn't get it to work on the Quest. That is their own engine. That's it's not Unreal or Unity. So maybe the engine doesn't play nice with Quest. I don't know what it is.
I don't know. I mean, I'd expect some form of maybe Lone Echo 1 eventually coming to the Quest platform, whether it's Quest 2 or the Quest Pro or a third version, once the hardware gets better. I expect they'd want something like, because this is one of their best games that they have exclusive rights to. So if not in the top two. So yeah, I would expect that they want to, like Medal of Honor, how somehow they've squeezed it onto Quest. The jury's still out for that one, because the PC version didn't run as smoothly. Plus, I have to delete everything because I have a 64 gig Quest. Not bitter at all. That was my fault. But yeah, I expect that they want to try and push a potential first one out onto Quest, because it is so good. But Samson, you're gonna jump into this as well. You haven't finished Lone Echo 1, right?
No. I did sink a good amount of hours into it. I don't know. There's a lot on my palette right now. I mean, eventually I'll definitely want to get to it, but I don't know that I'll get to it soon.
Yeah, that's true. And plus, we got Resident Evil coming out in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah.
So essentially, that what will round up the podcast. I know both you guys, you got to go. We did skip out that the Facebook outage on October 4th. So just a quick thing about that. The Facebook outage on October 4th with Oculus devices. All the Oculus games that required cloud storage all stopped working unless you turned off your Wi-Fi, which was very weird. How the system is implemented like that. Like Topgolf came out saying that they can't launch, the title won't launch unless you turn off Wi-Fi. Big flaw, but hopefully something crazy like an outage like this kicks them up the arse a little bit and puts in better engineering inside their games, and also allows cloud saves. If your Demio stuff resets, at least you have a backup. That's all we ask.
Yeah, but there's some weird integrations with how the platform works. There are some titles that like don't work at all without internet connections. Like Swords of Gargantua is, even if you're playing single player, I've had that game tell me, no, you don't have an internet connection, you can't play. Yeah. Which is like, why? So it's a single player game. It's like, well, it was. They have a multiplayer option, but it's like, well, why? So. Yeah, this shows also that we don't want Facebook in the hands of just one company.
Right.
Oh, no, of course. So we could do another whole podcast on this, but we'll save it for another day. Yeah. Matteo, thank you so much for joining us on our 20th episode. Nice. Really appreciate it. A lot of good chats, and I'm sure I'll have to book you with your prediction for the Oculus Connect later on in a couple of weeks. So I'll let you think about it.
Sure.
But yeah, I appreciate it a lot. Before you go, actually, I just want to mention, I put out a tweet a month ago or so that I was doing like a VR fitness routine. You replied saying, I hope Until You Fall is on that list. I've been playing Until You Fall. great recommendation. That's a great game, although it kicks me in the ass. These damn roguelikes, I tell you now. I'm not the best on them, but it's great. It's a good game.
Switch your main hand weapon though, otherwise you're gonna be like jacked on one side and wimpy on the other.
It's true, because like my left arm I hardly use. I'm mostly using my right than anything. So
you gotta switch. You gotta switch every time you play.
Good advice. Is this from experience? Have you got your right bicep bigger than your left right now?
Yeah, no, that's that. I do switch only because I was playing it as like a form of cardio, and it's just like I'd feel, you know, my lats sore and stuff getting sore only on one side, and I would play like, you know, probably a defensive weapon in my left, and my striking weapon in my right, and I said, well, one, you always want to practice both, and two, also you're just making yourself more, you know, injury prone and stuff like that. So switch, just switch. Make sure to do that.
That's good advice.
Good advice.
I've definitely not been doing that. Okay, so before we leave, Matteo, anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
No.
Matteo's got nothing going on. No, I'm kidding. He's
give that YouTube channel subscription.
Give that YouTube
subscription. Come check me out on YouTube. I do appreciate it, but I love these podcasts. I just love talking to people about VR. That's, you know, a good portion of what my channel is about. You're going to get my opinion, like it or not. A lot of my channel it's probably about 40% opinion pieces from me. And then I'll keep you up to date on everything else, from the news to the latest games. And like, if there's anything weird going on in the industry or just something noteworthy, something worth discussing, I'll be there to talk about it.
And he's not afraid to say VR is dead when it does feel like it is dead.
Yeah,
definitely. I'll have all of the links in the description below. Once again, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks to everyone who did listen or watching us on the video, and we'll see you next week.